It's been a long time coming. It's hard to believe it's here, but we're obviously excited. I'm as excited as anybody to see our team play, see what these guys, bring into the stadium, and the positives. I know there'll be adversity, there'll be things that we have to get better at, but I'm anxious. We've squared off against each other and competed against each other for quite some time now. So it's nice to have an opponent, other than the maroon and orange to go out and work against. And so we're excited for the ball game. We've got to finish out our preparation this week. I think it's a heck of a challenge in Old Dominion. I know Ricky Ronnie firsthand. I know a bunch of his staff, and these are good football coaches that will have this team, well prepared for us. On top of that, he knows our defensive system. He knows our structure. He's familiar with us offensively. There's a lot of familiarity between the two programs. And then, obviously there's some history there. So it's a great opener. I'll open it up for questions.
All right, David Teal, go ahead.
Brent, on your depth chart, you have Jalen Holston listed as the starting running back. Malachi Thomas is not even on the chart. Is he going to be out for a while there? And what separated Jalen from the rest of the group?
Yeah, Malachi's still week to week. He will not play this weekend. That's to be sure. We'll evaluate him again, late in the week next week. That'll be kind of ongoing for him. His recovery's going well. Holston has had just a really good spring, a really good camp, experienced and a leader. He's been very consistent. He does everything that we would ask a running back to do. He does everything very well. I don't know if, there's probably some traits that maybe some of the other guys have that are a little stronger, but just total package, he's been the most consistent and can do the most things well.
And then just one quick follow-up, if I could, was bringing the lunch pail back always in your plans from the moment you got this job?
Yes, sir.
Why?
It just meant so much to me over the years. It's part of the fabric to this place. And in my mind, it's something that's initiated defensively, and, its main home is on the defensive side of the ball, but I want that mindset for our entire football team. So it was absolutely going to be part of us doing this. We've done something similar, not necessarily with a lunch pail, but we've carried that, that reference and what it meant in other ways over the course of my career on the defensive side of the ball. So it was naturally going to, make its way back.
Hank.
Hey, Brent, when you look at Grant and learning a new system and all that stuff, new teammates, how much does his 23 starts and having to read defenses for all that time and stuff, how much has that not only benefited him, but allowed him to kind of bring the other guys along?
Yeah, that was a big factor in us recruiting Grant. Obviously he was talented, but the 2 years of experience, you just can't replace that. You can sign an awful talented freshman and still struggle to get him to run the offense the way you want. So, Grant's a proven guy, and I think that meant a lot in the transition, learning a new offense. It's been great having Brad Glenn, great quarterback tutor, work with Grant, and it's a little bit unique because Brad gets to spend all his time with the quarterbacks and the quarterback development, whereas Tyler's the play caller. So I think that's been a real positive in the transition piece. But as I've mentioned, Grant he's got the respect and the faith, of the staff and the team. So I'm excited to see him play. There's a high level of comfort with Grant right now.
Okay, how quickly did his leadership kind of take hold with a bunch of guys he didn't really know?
Yeah, he's one of those guys. He didn't say a whole lot initially. We're starting to hear him a little bit more. He had a quiet way about him. He just put the work in, and and learn from mistakes. And he was very consistent and very poised and throughout the competition. And I think that earns respect across the board.
Thank you.
All right, we'll come back in the room now. Please raise your hand, Mike.
Yeah, a couple questions about the depth chart. CJ Mcrae was a guy that you said you were really high on, and J.C. Price was really excited about. He's not listed. Is he injured, or just what happened with CJ?
Yeah, he's dealing with a minor injury, so he's touch and go right now. I'm hoping he makes the trip. We'll know more in the next day or two.
William Cachovitis is listed 3 times on the depth chart, one of the primary backups at receiver instead of guys like Jalen and Tucker Holloway. What have you seen out of him? He's a walk-on, obviously. Just his maturity, or what made him kind of stand out over some of the scholarship kids?
Yeah, he's been very consistent. We didn't get a good taste of him in the spring. He was coming off an injury, and he's really made the most of camp. And he's opened our eyes and proven himself that he merits playing time.
And then with the number 3 quarterback, Devon's listed ahead of Taj. What went into that? Him kind of edging it out for that 3rd spot.
Yeah, Devon's really, it's no discredit to Taj. Devon's really invested and worked as Taj has, but he's picked up the offense pretty quickly, and things just come a little bit easier to him right now. And we just had a little more comfort with Devon if he had to go out and run the show in making the right reads and making the right throws. Obviously both he and Taj are talented. They're dual threat guys, but Devon's just got a little better handle on the offense right now.
At defensive end, no CJ obviously, but you got a couple young guys in that 2 deep. One of the McDonald twins, Burgos, Moiston. What have you seen from those guys throughout camp so far?
There's a lot of potential in those 3. I'm excited to see the development, and I'm anxious to get all 3 of those guys some experience. They have, they're great bodies, they're long, they're pretty athletic. They're still figuring things out at the college level, obviously, all 3 of them. McDonald was a high school DB, was even on a DB on the roster here last year. So, for all of them, it's brand new. But I'm excited, and we want, we hope to have the opportunity, throughout the early part of the season to continue to develop these guys in game situations.
You obviously know Ricky and his staff very well. In terms of player personnel, what stands out to you about this Old Dominion team when you've watched them on film?
Yeah, I would say this. They're a veteran group. I mean, they've got 21, 22 starters back. The quarterback, had great success down the stretch last year when he took over and beat some good teams, played against some good defenses. And, so I think, the receiver is a talented guy. You notice him when you put the film on. And obviously the tight end. I know all about Zach Kuntz. I recruited him to Penn State, and along with Tyler Bowen and Ricky. So he's he's potentially a matchup problem. He's a big, long guy that can run, and he's obviously older and more experienced now than he was, and he played well for him. So this is a veteran group, and this staff's been together 3 years now. The DC, the line coach who's now the play caller, Ricky. The special teams coordinator, Kevin Smith, was our grad assistant for 2 or 3 years, does an outstanding job. So this is a good group of coaches that will have this group ready to play.
You have a couple of oars listed on the will linebacker spot. You said before you're kind of searching for somebody there. Does it feel like that's the case still, that you're trying to figure out what you have there?
Yeah, I don't want to say too much, but we've got a good plan for that spot, and we're still we're still figuring it out. So there's going to be a couple guys roll through that position. And, ultimately, we want to play our best 11. And, as I've mentioned, the Sams have learned Will. The Wills have learned Mike. And, you may see a little bit of some diversity in the game with some of those guys and where they play. But, Keller and Dean and, the other McDonald brother. I mean, those guys have all just really worked hard at learning that position. So I'm excited to see what they do, to be honest.
You've obviously spent a lot of time going up against Ricky Ronnie head-to-head
Yeah.
in practice and times like that. Was there anything he ever did offensively that just kind of drove you nuts as defensive coordinator? Just like, man, I hate it when they do that stuff. It's a hard matchup.
Yeah, he's very competitive. That's what I would say about Rick. I mean, he's going to fight for every inch, and he's not going to make this thing, easy. There's going to be some things I'm sure that he's planned on attacking us with that we're good over the years in practice and things like that. And he's a real student of the game. He studied it as well as anybody I've been around. Really poured the time in. He knows all facets of offensive play, and he was a college quarterback, a very good one. So he's one of the bright guys in this business that, as I mentioned, will have this team ready. And with what's happened on their side of the football, I'm sure he's really involved right now, and he's probably coaching the heck out of those quarterbacks and helping Kevin Rayner do this thing. So.
Coach, you've made a number of stops over the past few months since you've been here, having to sell folks on the program what it is, what you want it to be. You mentioned the players are eager to play. How excited is the coaching staff to finally get out there to start proving exactly what this Hokies football program is going to be?
Yeah, we're fired up. I mean, it's, again, for us, it's, we're still day by day, and that's the way I want it. I mean, we had to go have a great Tuesday practice. I say Tuesday for game week. We had to do our business yesterday and a great Wednesday today, and we can't look too far ahead. We haven't done that, and I think that's one of the reasons we've been able to, to manage new schemes and new systems and new practice plans and all those things. We've managed it pretty well because we've kind of stayed in the moment and made sure we were getting the most out of the day.
Hey, Brent, kind of along the same lines, what's the impact of playing this game in Norfolk and kind of the exposure?
I'd rather not.
From the standpoint of maybe the exposure that it brings to your program, kind of in that part of the state.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. The 757 is important. It's always going to be. It always has been. And I guess from an exposure standpoint, sure. But I'd certainly rather be in Lane Stadium, Worsham Field, playing these guys.
Coach, game week from the Pry household. What's a game week like in the Pry household during football season?
Yeah, I'm trying to get my daughters to understand who we're playing, when we're playing. Are they going to watch it? I hope so. It's kind of along those lines with the girls. My stepson Colby gets pretty involved nowadays. He didn't used to be, but he gets excited about it. I'd say he's a part-time watcher. And then Amy's fully invested. She's coming on a trip with us, and she's super excited. So it's, I try not to bring it home. I'm not going to, if the girls want to watch it, awesome. If they don't, it's okay with me.
Let's go back to Zoom real quick. Aaron Mcfarlane.
Hey, Brent. One of the exciting things about this time of year is sort of the mystery of just not knowing what we're going to see. I know you've spent the last 10 months trying to remove as much uncertainty and mystery out of your program as you can, but how much is still there? I mean, just, how much is when you get out there, you're going to find out quite a bit about what you really have? Yeah,
that's a great question because that is what we're trying to figure out and what that first game's about, particularly for a new staff. Who are we really? How do we truly respond to adversity? There's nothing like the true game environment to answer a lot of questions. We think we have a pretty good idea on some guys, that are battle tested, but as a unit, as a team, we don't know. I mean, obviously, the development and implementation of a culture has been, at the top of our list from day one with this football team, and you're going to see signs of that throughout this first ball game. I'm excited for that piece of it. The growth and the development and the things we want for our team. But, there's going to be some weaknesses. There's going to be some things that show up that we'll have to work on. We are still figuring this thing out for real, as far as what type of team we have.
Two more from Zoom. I think that's David.
Brent, you mentioned Kevin Rayner taking over the play calling. When that change happens for Old Dominion, how much do you guys then subsequently dive into the Tulsa bowl game because that was his one game as the OC after they made the change following the regular season.
Yeah, obviously we already had that game on the docket. Just it was their most recent ball game. It's not a great game defensively because Tulsa's a 3-down front, but you're certainly going to look at those guys and see what they do and how Kevin called it. But I think that this offense is running through Ricky and what he believes is important, and Kevin and a bunch of those guys on that side of the ball are from Ricky's tree and James Franklin's tree. So there's not a big mystery there, but obviously Kevin will have his touch on it, and we did certainly include that Tulsa game in our breakdown.
Hank.
Hey, Brent. I know your interaction with Ricky is limited now by the fact that you play each other for several years. Do you remember talking to him after his first game to find out what that was like? You both put in a lot of time waiting for that opportunity. Do you remember anything he told you about what it was like to be the chief cook and bottle washer of a football team in their first game?
I don't know that I did. I think it was more me wishing him good luck, before the ball game, and I don't even remember if it was a W or an L for him. But Rick and I obviously have spoken and talked, and we saw each other at the convention and spent some time. But he's done a great job. Coming back from the way that season started for them last year, I think that's a sign of real growth for a football team. That's a real testament to the culture that Rick's established and what that team's about, to rebound and win 5 of your last 6.
Last one in the room, Mike.
Yeah, I know you guys did scrimmages and simulated kind of the game operations, and but for you, as calling the plays now with the head coach, sort of also priorities. Have you thought about what that's going to look like? If you're going to have to give it to Mar for a minute, if you need to help with the offense, or do you think that's going to be kind of come as you go, kind of experiencing it, or have you kind of spent time thinking about how you balance that? Because those are some of the challenges for coordinators kind of going to the head coach spot.
Yeah, I've certainly spent a lot of time thinking about it and talking with Tyler Bowen, talking with Chris Marv, Brian Christ, who's an experienced analyst for us and will be on the sideline. Stu Holt as the special teams coordinator, Sean Quinn, who's been a head coach, just how this thing's going to look and what they can expect from me, what the plan is initially, with the ability to hit some curveballs that could come up. I've got a lot of trust in this staff, and we're very transparent, and there's been some concerning conversations where they say, hey, how are you going to handle this, or what are you going to do when this happens? And I'm glad they bring it to my attention, and so we've had a lot of healthy conversations that I think will help us be prepared to navigate that. It's going to be hard not to just be totally invested in the defense back there, but we've had a couple of scrimmages where I've had the opportunity to step away and make sure I'm back on that sideline and being the head coach.
Have you decided on who your pullback guy is? Is it Galt?
Oh, yeah, and Ferg. Yeah. We're keeping KJ out of it. If you've seen KJ at practice, he's kind of thin. So we're going to keep – he's in charge of the kickers and those guys.
Thanks, everybody. We'll have Caleb Smith here shortly.
Appreciate y'all.
Thank you, Coach.